Welcome back to Grinding to a Halt. This week, just talking about mental health. I know it's not a topic everybody wants to hear about. Some people are deeply uncomfortable hearing it talked about. I will talk about depression, anxiety, panic attacks, burnout, and suicidal ideations. So, if that is not something you are comfortable listening to, if that is in any way triggering for you, feel free to skip. No harm, no foul. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But if you are someone who is open to just listening to me talk very, very transparently about my mental health in the past and my mental health currently, happy to have you here. Let's dive in. Now, the idea for this episode really kind of happened organically. I had posted on LinkedIn, about a week ago, that I was in a bout of depression, that I was struggling to find joy in the things I was doing, and that I was really struggling specifically with making this show. Now, I did frame it as I'm not in danger, I'm in no way at risk. It was just good old-fashioned depression where it's stripping me of anything that I could possibly find joy and meaning in. That's very normal for me to go through bouts of that, of just losing the ability to feel happiness in things, specifically things that I really enjoy. So as I have been working on this show, the interview side of it is the thing that comes most natural to me. It's very easy for me. As transparent and as open and as organic all of those conversations are for me, it is still very performative. It is a piece of me that I am able to turn on and off. And even when I'm in a bout of really bad depression, it's still easy for me to turn that on. That's kind of a skill I've developed just throughout my career, where being depressed on a call isn't really an option. So I learned tricks that I could do to kind of turn it off for an hour and just make the call happen. So I can absolutely do that when I am recording an interview, and it's not fake in any way. I am genuinely enjoying those conversations. But then once it's done and I have to open up my editing software and I have to listen through the episode, I have to add my music, I have to start making video clips, that's where it becomes almost unbearable for me when I'm really depressed. I like that aspect of it. It is a type of work I've never done before, so it's challenging in a good way, and it's fun to learn how to do that. But because it's in no way performative, it is just me sitting in a room with my laptop. It's like pulling teeth. It is almost a level of physical pain at the thought of having to do it. So I just have struggled to do it. And I was posting about that. I said that, I'm just giving myself space to be in the things I'm feeling, to not try to fight my way through depression, and more just understand that it's a state I am currently in and it will pass. And I had a lot of people reach out and say, first off, they were checking on me, which it's very kind. But they said that they completely understand it, that they've been in that spot, that they feel that. And I've had people really, since I started the show, with episode 1 with Kaveh, really digging into my own bouts of depression. And then when I was planning on ending my own life, when suicide for me became something that made sense. So since talking about that and just naturally posting the way I do on channels like LinkedIn, where I talk very openly about my mental health or the state of how mental health is viewed in the workplace, people have been reaching out and saying that they appreciate it. That either it is putting words to things they're feeling, which is great, or it is giving a voice when it's something they don't feel comfortable saying. I am not a person who shies away from it. I feel very comfortable talking about those things, and I know not everyone does. It is such a deeply personal thing. But like I started off by saying, I have to talk about it because that's how I'm safest. If I'm not talking about my mental health, it means it's probably in a really bad spot. So in being a person that talks about it, it's relating to people. People are finding, I guess, hope in it. I don't. It's strange for me to even think about someone listening to something I say and it being helpful in any way. I think I'm just a jackass with a microphone most of the time. So the idea that what I'm saying is resonating or that it is helpful in any way is still kind of strange to me. But it means I need to keep doing it. If it can help one person not feel alone, because that is the danger of depression, is feeling alone. And that's, I think, why I talk about it, because then I don't feel alone in the things that I am feeling. So that's a long preamble to get into what this is going to be. And it went through a few different versions. Initially, I was going to just kind of talk about the statistics and the data behind increase in suicide rates for certain age ranges, and how those have been changing drastically over the last few years. But when pulling that stuff together and trying to find a way to talk about it, it kind of came across as cold, because it was just data that wasn't anything too personal. I was going to try to tie it back to my own personal stories, but it just didn't feel right. So then the idea was, hey, I'll just put a message out. Anyone who is comfortable sharing their story, send it over to me. You can remain anonymous if you want, and I'll just read your story. And, the more different versions of this same story we can put out there, the more likely we are to help everyone have a story that feels closest to their own experience. My experience, while relatively universal, is still specific to certain groups of people in the way that I feel the things that I feel, or the way I am able to put those ideas forth verbally. So having other people's words, it might help reach a broader audience and make people feel less alone. But in reading those, it was just, why would I read this? Why would I not just have them on to talk? Why would not just turn this into an actual conversation around what they were feeling and how they balance, their own mental health with their responsibilities. So I'm going to work on getting a couple of those scheduled and recorded. That way we can have, different versions of mental health conversations with people that have experienced them. So yeah, it just kind of fell back to another solo episode of me ranting into a microphone. But I enjoy doing this, and I've been getting some good feedback about this format and kind of breaking up the interviews with more just me talking. So I'll be right back with more thoughts. All right, now tying all of this back to mental health in the workplace, just based on conversations I have had with other people, the way things manifest for me in the workplace are very different. So I can become hyper-focused. I have an increased output when I'm really depressed in a work setting. I kind of switch into that default. And if you've listened to past episodes, you've definitely heard me talk about Work Zach and Real Zach. And Work Zach is able to shut off everything that is being felt and run solely based on a task list. So here's the 25 things that need to be done today. Nothing else matters. Those 25 things will be done. Every call or interaction I have, whether it be with coworkers or with clients, I absolutely shut off any real emotion I'm having, and I am able to project what I know is needed in that moment, which is dangerous because it's putting forward a false reality of what is going on with me. And it needs to happen to an extent because, like I said in the beginning, I can't really get on a call with a client and be depressed. It just doesn't work that way. That's a bad experience for them. And it would seem like I hate my job. You don't want to get on with an account manager who's just really sad. It'll seem like things are not going well for your business, or that that person cannot be trusted to help you be successful. So there is a necessity to it. But I kind of overcorrect, and I lean into being happy and being outgoing and being the life of the party so much that it can be hard for me to switch back into my normal life, back into real Zach, without crashing and crumbling, because I've had to put forth so much energy to getting through that task list for the day. I've had to put forth so much energy to project a version of myself that isn't really depressed, that I am completely empty. And for me, that's where burnout comes in. So burnout for me is less about not being able to do the things I need to at work. For me, burnout is I've done all the things I need to at work, and now I'm incapable of doing a single thing in my personal life because I have nothing left. Like, that tank is bone dry. There's nothing for me to run on. And that's when it gets dangerous for me. So I have to really keep myself in check about the things I'm saying yes to when I am in a depressive state, because, like I said, my natural reaction is to overcorrect, to say yes to everything, to take on as much as I can, to hide what I'm actually feeling. And I know that's not healthy. And when I was doing that the most was the time when I was planning on ending my life, because I was so completely empty. I was taking on so much in an attempt to seem, and this is in quotations, normal, that I was just making myself absolutely miserable. I was making everything around me seem impossible because I was trying to keep up the appearance that I could do my job at the level that I had always done it. And I did not feel comfortable talking about what I was actually feeling or where I was at mentally in a way that would have given the people I worked with the information they would need to actually help me. And I do believe that they would have helped me had they known what was going on. So now I talk about it. If they follow me on LinkedIn, they've seen me post about it. If they listen to the podcast, and I do know that a few coworkers do, listen to the show. They have a really good idea of what's going on with me mentally. And now, just through this, me talking about this, they're going to have an idea of things to look out for that they might not have known. And I know that's not going to be the answer for everyone. Not everybody's going to feel comfortable just talking about what they're dealing with mentally, or where they're at, or if they're depressed, if they're approaching burnout. But if you can find one person to talk to about it, I don't have all the answers, but if it's me, if for now it helps you to shoot me a DM or shoot me an email just to say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, no judgments. I will absolutely read it and respond. I feel pretty fucked up in the head a lot of the time. I feel like I have to fight to do things normally. And if anyone else feels that and feels alone, just know that you're not. That a lot of people feel that. I don't think there is such a thing as normal in the broad sense. There's only what's normal for you. And what is normal for you can be something that changes. There was a time when my normal was very, very mentally unhealthy. And I'm not saying I have it all figured out, or that, I have any answers. I just know what works for me, and I'm happy to share what works for me. And what works for me is just being honest. It's talking about it. And it doesn't have to be at this scale. You don't have to tell everyone. I'm comfortable telling everyone. But if you can just tell one person where you're at, sometimes just saying those things out loud can really help you understand what you're feeling. Just verbalizing things changes the way you hear your thoughts by putting it out there, by getting someone else's response or reaction or support can be hugely beneficial. So I kind of want to leave it with that. It is about exploring and finding what works for you and what makes sense for you and what you are comfortable with. So as far as the things that I know work for me, when I'm depressed, when I am struggling to find joy in the things that normally bring me joy, I don't try to fight against it. I accept that in that moment, those feelings are real and those feelings are valid and those feelings are part of who I am. They will not last forever. But in that moment, those are my real feelings. So I allow myself to feel it. I also don't try to just push through because I don't want to burn out on things in my personal life that I care about. So I take a step back when I can, when I need to. And then as far as work, it is really for me about just setting those boundaries to prevent my own burnout when I am struggling, of not saying yes to everything as an act of overcorrection for the things I am feeling, for the things I am hiding, but also being vulnerable with people I feel comfortable doing it with at work, of saying, hey, here's where I'm at right now. This is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm thinking. And if something is too much, knowing that it is okay to raise my hand. I will say I understand not everybody is in a place where they can do that. Not everybody has support where they can raise their hand and say, hey, I need help. So if you are in that position, please just reach out to me so you have someone you can talk to about it. But if you can, raise your hand. If you can, ask for help. If you can, let someone you work with know, hey, this is what I'm going through. It'll help protect you from burning out in those ways that are so unbelievably common now. Yeah, I think that's really all I want to say. I appreciate you listening. It really means a lot that anyone listens to this. I didn't really expect anyone to. I did not expect to get feedback. So if you are enjoying it, let me know. Shoot me a message, DM me, email me, info@grindpod.com. Leave me a rating or review. It helps me expand my reach so more people can find the show. And I will be back next week. Thank you so much.